So, the Ontario Heroes Health and Social Services, we have already launched our virtual platform. You might have seen that in the website. Today, we are having this inaugural ceremony. You all know we have some guests. So, myself, Kavita, I'm going to be the host for tonight, and I'm a child protection worker who work with Family and Children Services of Lanark, Leeds, and Granville here. I came to Canada in 2013. So before I got into this professional field, I started off, my career through volunteering. So for me, volunteering is something which I really like. It's like an addiction to me. If someone asks me what I really like, I would say, "Oh my God, I love doing volunteering." So it's my pleasure to actually be a part of this. Ontario Heroes, and I would like to call it as like Ontario servants. We are actually ready to serve the community. I feel so grateful that a visionary like Praveen Varki invited me to be a part of this Ontario Heroes and gave me an opportunity to do volunteering in this platform. So I'm really looking forward to work with this wonderful team of volunteers from different walks of life, from different professional sectors. Like there are people with like legal expertise, social work, and healthcare sector workers are there as a part of this group. So I'm really looking forward to work with you all and to know you all in a better way. As you all know, like Praveen Varki is somebody who is a good volunteer, who has even won an award for his volunteering. Remarkable Volunteer Award 2020. He's a recipient of that award. And I would like to say a few words about Mr. Praveen. He's a registered social worker who holds MSW. He's a RSW with 13 years of experience in social work. His area of expertise includes medical social work, rehabilitation services, HIV care and support, elder care, palliative care, housing, income support service, complex case management, individual and family counseling, and so on. And Praveen began his career in Canada as a social worker at Cooksville Care Centre Inpatient Rehabilitation Program, Mississauga, in 2012, and worked there for 4 years before joining Mississauga Halton LHIN in 2015 as a care coordinator. He still works for LHIN on a part-time basis as a intake care coordinator with Access Care team. Praveen has also been with William Osler Healthcare Peel Memorial Hospital, Brampton, since June 2017 as a social worker for complex medicine. To people from South Asian community, he's like a 911. We would call him first to figure out, okay, if we are stuck with something, I'm the one who always call, hey bro, I think I need information about this particular thing. Then he has solution for almost everything. That's what I found. So I'm really happy to invite you onto this. It is like your own initiative. It is your own baby, your own brainchild, Praveen. So please tell a few words about this Ontario Heroes. We are really waiting to hear from you the vision, mission statement, and what is it that you really want to share with us tonight. I would like to welcome you.
Thank you, Kavita. Good evening, everyone. And also, I would like to thank you, each and everyone over here today. So, this Ontario Heroes is a volunteer-based non-profit organization, and there are professionals from diverse community and across Ontario. I will explain more about our vision, mission, and the values and objectives, and also the programs. And maybe I will open the page, our website. So we have a website called Ontario Heroes. So we have a registered name, Ontario Heroes Health and Social Services, that's registered. Our modeling is based on a virtual platform. That's why this website and this portal is very important. I'll just begin with the first page. So the tagline is, are you in search of health, legal or social services in Ontario, or volunteers can help you? So that's a good question. So how our volunteers can help? That's why we created this virtual platform and invited all diverse professionals to join us in this platform to share their knowledge, resources, and navigate the community resources and do the care coordination with the partners in the circle of care, and overall to improve the quality of life of the individual. So using this online volunteer platform, we can easily connect with the people from across Ontario. We are a not-for-profit organization, so we provide services volunteer basis using our virtual platform, and we are bound by Ontario's Personal Health Information Protection Act, PIPA. How do you find right support? So we integrated an online tool in our portal. So if you are from Ottawa or Niagara or Hamilton or London, so wherever you are, and if you're looking for resources or services or support, you can log on to this website and you can fill a form. You have to fill your demographic information, your name, contact number and location, and a brief short message about what kind of services you're looking. So the modeling is basically, this is a new modeling. We have two teams working together, and there is a core resource team. So we have more than 100 resource team members in our core group. They are from various different professional background and from across Ontario. For example, like nurse practitioner, nurse, occupational therapist, physiotherapist, kinesiologist, dietitian, social workers, social service workers, child and youth service workers, developmental service workers, IT professionals, entrepreneurs, and financial consultants, insurance people, and administrative professionals. Many categories. There are more than 25 professionals and disciplines over here. So to utilize the resources and knowledge and how we operate. So we maintain the resource team, and also we are recruiting the frontline volunteers. And also we have a volunteer coordinator and a service coordinator. So whenever we get a query using this online portal, so they can log on to the website, complete a query, and we will receive via email. So the service coordinator will look into that and connect with appropriate departments. So we have a health department, legal services, social service, rehabilitation, and community partnership, and the international students wing. So the service coordinator connect with the appropriate department, get the recommendation, and sit with the frontline volunteer and the volunteer coordinator, orient the patient, the volunteer about the scenario, and assign one of the frontline volunteer to connect with the patient or the client and communicate or disseminate the recommendation provided by one of the expertise. Or for example, if it's health related, there's a team, nurse practitioner, and pharmacist. So whoever available, they will consult with that team, and we kept it as a 3 days window because we know most of them are professionals. They work in different settings and different shift, and they are from different parts of Ontario. So we are allowing enough time to look into that query and respond back to the service coordinator. So the service coordinator, volunteer coordinator, and the resource team and frontline volunteer, they all work together. And the frontline worker is a key person for this virtual platform, connecting with the patient and passing the information. We provide initial consultation, counseling, then if they need further system navigation, care coordination. So we are able to offer that. We have registered social workers on board. They are able to help further system navigation, care coordination across Ontario, and also liaising with community partners or contacting family doctor office and home and community care office. So they do the care coordination, that part, and enable that individual to access the services to optimize the resources and improve the quality of life. This is basically, we are planning to complement existing healthcare system. So we have a beautiful system, healthcare system. We have a public health, we have hospitals, home and community care. They're all integrated, all part of circle of care. So we work with our partners in the circle of care and healthcare system to support them, so complement the healthcare system, and by enabling them to identify the right resources and assisting with applications, referral linkages, and providing better system navigation and care coordination. So that's the way we can address the systemic barriers and enable this individual, a person with a disability or member from marginalized group or a refugee or international student or visitor without OHIP. So we are offering services to anybody free of charges. We are all volunteers and no OHIP needed. So anybody from Ontario, they can utilize our portal, submit the query, and one of our volunteer will process that and get back to them. So that's a service delivery model using this virtual platform. So we have a beautiful team to support this mission, and soon we are recruiting the frontline volunteers. And the option is inbuilt in this portal. This is a model. So once you submitted this query, then it will be we will receive in our inbox. Then the volunteer service coordinator will gather the information from that, and once the requirement is identified, then we will connect with the resource team and the volunteer coordinator and one of the frontline volunteer assigned to assist this individual. And here is a form. It's very simple because we provide services volunteer basis. So the service user, the patient or client or an individual, they have to sign the waiver form. Then we proceed to provide the service. Let's look into our vision, mission, and values and objectives. So our vision is to foster collaboration with the health, legal, and the social services across Ontario. That's our vision. So the mission is to provide a unique platform. So this is a virtual platform, and for sharing the knowledge and resources, system navigation, care coordination to overcome the systemic barriers to improve overall quality life of individuals, families, and marginalized population and diverse communities across Ontario. We believe in diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and excellence. That's our value. So objectives basically to build a capacity and develop community by coordinating appropriate resources and services, and promote overall health and well-being of the individuals and families, promote volunteerism and community giving. That's one of the Canadian value, volunteerism and community giving. And also to recognize and appreciate the contributions of the individuals and organizations promoting our values, Canadian value, diversity, equity, inclusiveness, and excellence. So that's our vision, mission, and values and objectives. So let's move on to programs. So we have a few programs outlined over here. So first of all, the first one is Heroes. So because we known as Ontario Heroes, so it's Heroes project. So Heroes Counseling Center. So this is a virtual platform. So we provide the services virtually and free of charges. So individual and family counseling and support the youth and teenagers to decrease the risk of violence, abuse, homelessness, mental health crisis, and prevent hospitalization. And also counseling support to cope with illness, dealing with the past or current abuse, relationships, drugs, and alcohol use. And counseling part, yeah, we have trained counselors available to provide the support. Health and medical service. Under this, there are 5 areas we can do the interventions. We have a beautiful team. They provide a primary palliative care consultation and also chronic disease prevention and wellness program. Includes congested heart failure or COPD, kind of chronic disease prevention and wellness program, medication management and optimization, and diabetes education and self-management, and wound care consultation. We have a wound care consult in our volunteer team. And other programs are international volunteer opportunity. I was part of a volunteer exchange program in Europe and also in India, so I'm in touch with them. And once the situation is improved, then we will be taking applications. International Students Parents Helpline. This is a pilot project, and our focus is the students from India. So they are doing studies various parts of Ontario. So the family is worried, and they have now family or friends or assist this student. There are a lot of issues identified, like addiction issues, mental health issues, and relationship issues, medical health issues, and hospitalization, legal issues, and also death. So those family having trouble or hard time to reach out the right people and association or agency or government officials, and they had a lot of hurdles. So after dealing with a lot of cases recently, we figured out maybe it's a good idea to open up a helpline for international students or parents of the international students. So, and Heroes Social Service Support. So under this, so we have a team of social workers and social service workers, child youth service workers, and developmental service workers. So we have a team. So this team can offer basically mental health and addiction services, initial consultation, referrals and linkages, and COVID-19 support services, housing and employment support services. So housing and employment, most of you guys know, we are already running 4 WhatsApp group, and we have more than 780 participants in that. They are utilizing our platform to exchange the information about housing, job, and they're utilizing that platform. And also we have a WhatsApp group for social service workers, developmental service workers, and they are also part of this group. And disability support services. So if they need application support or identify the resources for independent living or income support or mobility devices or equipments, so we'll identify the resources and provide them. And newcomer settlement service, referral linkages to income support, and parenting in Canada, so education service and life skill training. That's the component under the social support. Other programs like a seniors wellness, youth leadership, entrepreneurship, and mentorship program for social work students, social service workers, developmental social workers, child and youth service workers, and mindfulness and mediation and yoga. That's one of the other program. And also one of the key area we cover is legal service, free consultation and referrals and linkages, and also explaining or introduction to the law and legal system in Ontario. And under the rehabilitation, we have a team of rehabilitation, registered physiotherapy, occupational therapy, kinesiology, and dietitian. So those team will look into the rehabilitation or lead the rehabilitation services. Future, we are planning to organize even once the situation is meltdown. If you have permission from the government, we are planning to run the day program for seniors and also falls prevention clinics or sessions for seniors and special population. And once in a month, that's our plan. So, and this is a rehabilitation team, they're helping out. And I already mentioned international student and parent support services, and we have a parents helpline, and also bereavement and international repatriation of mortal remaining services, so like shipping the body to the destination in any port in India, and also mentorship program for international students. And other programs are we are also going to begin the food bank. So the initial plan is to operate once in a month because we are all volunteers, so we need a lot of manpower and service, but it's possible to do. So we identified that area, the food bank. So it will be based in GTA. So annual programs like blood donation campaign and promote organ and tissue donation and the food drive. Equipment mobilization campaign like used equipments like a hospital bed or wheelchair or walker. Then identify the needy people and distribute them, and also family picnic. And also right now, one of the support program we are running in partnership with the Federation of Sierra Leone Community Canada. So we provide them education and webinars and health education and mental health support in that area, awards and scholarship. We're planning for a scholarship. So here's the first one is Diversity Excellence Scholarship and also Diversity Excellence Award, and Volunteer Award and Student Leader Award and Leadership Excellence Award. One of our member, Minu, she did a very good write-up on how cybersecurity affects us and how to practice community giving. And Ontario Heroes launch activities with talk on cybersecurity and community giving. Going to the next tab, be a volunteer. So we have a page over here, all the information, why should I volunteer and who can volunteer and how to apply. So be a volunteer. Just click this link. It will redirect to a new page. So fill your information over here. and one of the volunteer coordinator will reach that applicant, and we can discuss further, and we'll go from there. So we are looking for volunteers, frontline volunteers, and also professionals to join our resource team, like doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, or residents, social workers. So welcome to join. And also we are looking for frontline volunteers, supporters. So you can reach us out, complete this form, use this online platform, and our privacy policy. So we are committed to respecting our privacy and protecting the personal information. So that's why we thought we begin with a session for cybersecurity. Our leadership team. So Praveen Worki, President and CEO of the operations, and Tania, Secretary, and she's a Director of Programs and Services. Shane Kejos is a Treasurer. And our operations team members, Chris Laman, she's a barrister and solicitor. And Binod, she's a registered social worker. And Chris Verghese, she's a nurse practitioner specialized in chronic disease management. And Sadhindra Munde, she's a registered kinesiologist. She's a director for volunteer service. Ina Marsonia, she's a registered pharmacist. She's a director innovation and planning. Vijay Kesavan, she's a registered physiotherapist, director rehabilitation service. And Rohit Malik, a registered occupational therapist, Ontario, director resource development and board member. And Rashmi George, she's Director of Community Partnerships, selected by the board. And our board members, Rita Vin, she's a chair, and Prasad Naya is a vice chair. And members, board members, Lorna Patrick, Dragana Vidanovic, Julia Kim, Lishan Mariana, Rose Mason, and Josefina Fernandez, Rajan Singh Daliwal. That's our team. This is a board team, and this is the operations team. Our volunteers. So as I mentioned, this is professionals from diverse background across Ontario, and we use this virtual platform to provide the support to the individuals. So we have all population, different disciplines over here, from social work to lawyer, teacher, engineers, nurse practitioners, nurses, dietitians, IT professionals, physio, occupational therapists, cybersecurity, entrepreneurs, chartered accountants, insurance specialists, employment specialists, housing specialists, independent business owners, administrative professionals, media professionals, and recreation therapists. So we have a huge resource team. This is a new modeling, utilizing these disciplines, professionals as a one pool, and providing or enabling a virtual platform to share their knowledge, experience, and doing system navigation, care coordination to improve overall quality of life and address the systemic barriers. So, and this is basically, as I mentioned, to complement our existing healthcare system. Thank you so much for listening me, and I will end this, and over to you, Kavita. Thank you so much for coming on this platform and adding value to our society, community, and that's all about it. I'm so excited to be part of this, and I'm looking forward. Over to you, Kavita.
I don't know whether you got a chance to notice all the messages that you received. Many people have wrote that this is a great initiative. So congratulations for coming up with such a unique concept. Everything is basically under the same roof, and you made it much easier. Okay, thank you, and congratulations once again. So let's move on. We have with us our MPP, Deepak Anand, who is our chief guest, who would officially inaugurate Ontario Heroes. Let me say a few words about him. He's a chemical engineer from Punjab University in India and earned his MBA degree from Schulich Business School, Canada. He represents the riding of Mississauga-Malton as a member of Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. He's currently the vice chair of the Social Policy Committee and is a special advisor to the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, Honorable Vic Federally for the Indian Ontario Trade File. Welcome, Deepak ji.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Kavita. Thanks for those kind words. Thank you, Praveen. I mean, I don't have words. I know most of you are from Kerala, so I want to start with Ellarkam Namaskaram. I see Korean, I see my friend Prasad here, and I see a lot of you here. I know you very well, and I know you have a pain for the community. Praveen, you're not doing an incredible job by starting it. You're doing incredible job by bringing these people who have a lot of pain for the community together. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Deepak.
I'll tell you a small story. And I came to Canada in 2000, and it was I came on January 15th. And you know what happens on January 15th? It's cold. On January 17th, I stepped out of my house first time, friend where I was living, and I decided to walk to a bank, which was about 2.1 kilometers. I thought I'm going to save 80 rupees by walking rather than taking a bus. I walked about 500 meters away with my thin jacket and I'm shivering. As I was walking, somebody stopped his car, opened the door and looked at me, and he goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to bank." He said, "You're going to bank, but do you believe that you will reach there?" He asked me to come in. He dropped me to the bank, and as I came out of his car, I noticed that he took a U-turn. So technically, he was not going towards that direction. He saw me shivering on the road, and I don't know whether he took a U-turn or he was in the same direction or whatever it was, but he felt that I need help. I would have survived, honestly. It's not that I would have not reached the bank. But what showed to me was this, that if you look for a problem and if you see there is a need, don't wait for that person to ask for the help. Go and help that person. And I think that's what being a hero. And thank you, Praveen, for putting this together, thinking ahead, not waiting for somebody to come and say, "Can you help me?" Rather waiting for somebody to come to you and say, "Hey, we are here to help you." It's a classical example. I want to share certain things that we've done. I'll tell you, we had something that we did in the past, and we call it helping hands. And I'll give you some of the things that provoked us to do that helping hand. One of my friends, her name is Gayatri. Gayatri once called me and she said one of her friends has a cancer. And her husband has a very good job, but he works in IT, and back then there was no work from home. And they had 2 children, so that's his typical day. He'll wake up in the morning, he'll get his kids ready. His wife cannot come out of a bed, so he'll take them to the bus stop. He'll drop them, and then he'll go to work. Then at 3 o'clock, when his kids come back, he'll come, pick them up, take to home, and go back to work. And going and coming back, a commute was about 45 minutes. So imagine he was spending 1.5 hours just to pick his kids. And he was used to live in a town hall complex. What we did, we knocked few of the doors. We found out we know one person out there, and we told that person. We went next day, we followed the bus, and we reached out to all the stops, and we asked a simple question. Can you please take care of this child, pick them from the bus, and drop it to their home, which is the same town hall complex, which is probably 15 feet, 20 feet, or maybe 50 feet. But what we did through this, now the person don't have to worry about, I have to leave because my kids might be on the road. They have to go and come back and spend that 1.5 hour in stress. And that is what's being helped. Just by doing a little change, making sure that that person can get that help. I'll give you another example. There is a senior in the middle of the winter. He was trying to come out of home. They had a doctor's appointment. and their car got stuck because when the snowplow plows the snow, some of it banks on your driveways. They're trying to take it back, and because of the snow bank, they can't come out. And they cannot go to the doctor, they cannot shovel because they're sick. So she called me. All I did was I sent a message to all the friends I knew. And coincidentally, there's a person who lived right across the house. He went, he broke the snow bank. She could go to the doctor's appointment. You don't need to be a professional. You don't really need to have the money. Many times we need to give the help which can change the life without resources. But there was no platform like this. So thank you, Prasad. Thank you, Praveen, and thank you everybody who's here. You're giving that platform. And I can assure you, there are a lot of people out there who will get a lot of help. And more than that, there will be a lot of people out there who will be inspired from your stories. You will be a pathfinder for those. You will give them the opportunity to give back to the community. So I will end it with this. I can't thank you enough. Keep up the good work. My office was always open, is open, and will be open. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deepakji. So with that, let's move on to the highlight of today's event. We are going to have a webinar on community giving and cyber security. So the community giving session will be moderated by Mr. Prasad Nair. Let me say a few words about him so that he can take over the rest of today's session. Prasad Nair is a volunteer with the Ontario Heroes, as we all know. He's a board member as well. He holds a degree in law and have 2 masters in social work. He has multiple leadership certifications and is currently working with Toronto's Children's Aid as a director. He's the president of Mississauga Kerala Association and advisory board member of Malayali Association of Social Workers of Ontario, which is known as MASBO. Welcome, Prasad Nair, for the presentation. We would really like to hear from you about community. So please welcome Mr. Prasad Nair.
Thank you. Thank you, Kavita. Really appreciate your good words. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. I have a lot of familiar faces here. Deepakji, thank you. And so happy to see you here and blessing this event. Thank you very much. So I also see Thomas Anthony, and I can also see Prakash Jacob, Kurian Prakanam, and all those dignitaries here. So welcome everyone. Thank you very much. So I have 2 roles today, and Praveen has entrusted me with 2 roles. One is that I am the vice chair of Ontario Heroes, and at the same time, today I am moderating a session, and I also have to give an introduction to Ontario Heroes and also about the importance of volunteering. But I'm very happy that Praveen has done a great job explaining to all of you on who we are and what we are planning to achieve, all our programs, and in detail, why we, with our vision and why we wanted to come together as a community to deliver best for our community members. And also, Deepakji has always, always a staunch advocate for our communities, and highly passionate about helping people and also coming together. His passion is that irrespective of political borders, he wants to bring people together. And he also wants to see that people achieve their potentials. A lot of things that, I get kudos to, it's happening only because of people like Deepak Anand is behind me and then supporting me in moving forward. So I'm very happy that, Deepakji is here to support us and then support Ontario Heroes, support Praveen. So Thank you very much, Deepak ji. So I'm going to take 5 minutes to explain about community giving. Most of you may have heard about Alvin Toffler. He is an author, Third Wave. So if you have access to Google, just Google it, you will see it. So Alvin Toffler writes in his book that any decent society must generate a feeling of community. Community offsets loneliness. It gives people a vitality necessary, and it's a sense of belongingness too. And he also writes about it, and then he says that yet today's institutions on which community depends on are crumbling in all techno societies. And the result is a spreading plague of loneliness. I can't say more than this for the importance of why volunteers have to come together. Especially in Ontario Heroes' vision is to bridge gaps in how our healthcare system is functioning. I'm not blaming anyone, including our MPPs, but we know that the healthcare systems is under tremendous pressure. So it's very easy for us to stay outside the system and then pointing our fingers and saying that this is bad, we need a change. Instead, this group, currently we are thinking about coming together and then offering some tips, helps, and to bridge those gaps. And we are using volunteer power. So each one of you, like me, in this call, and those who are not part of this call, it is our joint effort. It is no more, the moment today onwards, it's no more the effort of Praveen. Yeah, Praveen had a great idea, and he is able to bring together a good team. But now onwards, this is our task. We wanted to show to the world that coming together and volunteering ourselves, we are able to bridge these gaps. We are going to show to the government, we are going to show to the public that this is a new model that we can rely on. So ending with that, what I'm going to do is I have to get into my other responsibility, that is inviting one of our most eminent speaker to today's session. So we have arranged a session for cybersecurity awareness, and the session is being done by none other than our own Sangameswaran Iyer. So the session will be talking about a lot of aspects around privacy, what is reputation, why it's important, especially that all of you are planning to volunteer. You really have to understand it. Then we'll be talking about cybercrime and social networking safety. And then from a personal note, I really like to hear about, how you secure your home network, because right now we are living in a virtual world. So then, what is passwords, and then how to have an email security. And again, we hear about ransomware, what is that, and customer scams and cyberbullying. So let me introduce Sangameswaran. Sangameswaran is a cybersecurity specialist, is a well-known specialist who is based in Denver, Colorado. He has over 25 years of experience in technology. He's a qualified expert with the leading industry certifications. I can't even read all the things, if you have an opportunity, I would encourage you to visit his Facebook page. Also encourage him, you to visit his LinkedIn page. He has GSCC, CISSP, CISM, CCSK, and VTSP. For me, it's all very foreign language, but for him, this is what he is doing for his living, and that is what he is breathing. So we are fortunate to listen to him from him about these topics. He is an internationally acclaimed facilitator and conference presenter. The great thing that I would say that I always feel proud about him is that he is from Kerala, a well-rounded professional, Mr. Engineer Sangameswaran Manikam Iyer. So I welcome him to Ontario Heroes today's presentation. Welcome Sangameswaran, and over to you. Thank you.
So I'm really proud and happy for the organizers and definitely the experienced people for that. So thanks, Prasadji, for the introduction, and then let's go ahead with that. I have a couple of slides so that we can use it as a kind of icebreaker or to get some insights into the magnificent world of cybersecurity. So here we go into that. So you can see the screen. So this is, and that's my name. So I'm trying to make sure that my certifications are trying to overtake my name. I had to drop my middle name because the Canadian IDs didn't support having more than specific number of alphabets in a name. So I have another distinction which I didn't want to mention it here, but we will take it offline. So these are some of the topics which I would be mentioning, like the connected world, privacy, reputation, indicators of malware and hacking, cybercrime and mobile, social networking dangers, which is most concerning to all of us, like both parents and kids, same way. Securing home networks, it's a no-brainer. Passwords and email security. We should not use the passcodes like 2, 4, 6, and 8. So that is something which we should keep in mind. Then ransomware and some of the consumer scams, I would mention on that. I would be going fast because we have less time and I have to cover a wider area of topics, right? So that's why I'm going pretty fast, but we'll have enough time to have the Q&A because that's my style. Cyberbullying and then interactive Q&A. And CyberGuru is actually my brand under which I do most of these community programs like school, college, and then different groups, making sure that educate them about the dangers, the advantages of using cyber, and then what all they should be aware about, like when they are doing some online transactions and stuff like that. So our connected world, it's a no-brainer because we are definitely using all these things to get connected to internet, be it a refrigerator, be it an Xbox console, be it a television, be it any of the bulbs which are smarter enough to get connected to online. So all these things, even the cars. So the refrigerators are becoming smart that the moment you leave office, it can check the inventory and then it can order like milk and all those things from the store, but you have to pick it up. So that is still there, like you cannot on the tap and get milk at home. That we have not reached that stage, but in future we might reach that stage as well. So that is where we are getting connected. And these are some of the applications. So if you have kids at home, beware about the messenger called Kik, what you see on the screen, because Kik is some of those, one of those messenger applications which are mainly used by pedophiles to target kids and all those things. So if you see any kid in your household trying to use Kik messenger, just be careful with that. So some of the places they are actually banned Kik. So Kik has a distinction, like it is developed in Ontario. So we have to keep that in mind. So the other thing is privacy and reputation, because in online, what constitutes to privacy? So we call and we speak about privacy issues and all those things. And then privacy is starting with PII, or personally identifiable information. So what are these personal data? Like personal data could be used on its own to identify a specific person, or identify a specific personality, or identify a specific place where that person is residing. So it could be name, home address, business address, identity card number, like the passport number, the driver's license, or the SIN number, car registration. So all these things are PII. So you have the right to question when someone is asking your PII to be given to them. So you have the right to ask, like, why do you need it? What are you going to do this? How long you are going to store this? And what is the way in which you are going to retire this? Or what are the ways in which you are going to destroy this after the mandatory period? So there are some different regulations on the basis of, like, 6 months is a retaining time, 1 year is a retaining time, 7 years is a retaining time. So all these things are different regulatory standards and regulatory mandates which are actually dictating like how long you should actually store it and for what purpose you are storing, who has access to that. Now, one of these examples is like as part of Ontario Heroes, like one of the things to keep in mind is when we collect information from citizens, or when we collect information from people who are requesting the services, how the information is stored and how the information is destroyed after the usage, and who will have access to that information for what purpose. So all these things is to be kept in mind. So one of the examples of PII is like all of us, like we are covered under OHIP. We go into a doctor's office, and then the front office would definitely ask, "Are you so and so person? Do you live in this address? Is this your phone number?" I don't like, because from my profession, I see that it's a privacy lapse, because anyone in that reception area can actually listen to this information, and our privacy is compromised. Like our health card number, or our driver's license number, or our phone number, or our address, our name. So anyone seated over there can actually overhear this conversation and can lead into that, right? So I have a personal habit, like when I walk into a doctor's office, I actually write all this information in a piece of paper and then hand it over to them, saying that these are my details, please verify and then let me in. Please don't raise your voice and then spell out my name and all those things, so that others can listen and get this privacy information. So this is something what we should practice in our daily lives as well. So this is just an overview on that. Other privacy and reputation is about like when you actually take pictures and try to post it on social media or photo sharing websites and stuff like that. The picture on the left, the girl is actually standing in the rear, but there was a friend who was actually taking a picture of the girl in the front, but the other girl was also in the frame. So see what happened. That friend's friend actually posted this information on a photo sharing website, Flickr, and then her picture got copied and downloaded and was used in an advertisement campaign. So the text what you see there is a decent text, but it could go a nasty way as well. So we can clearly predict that, because we are seeing that in our daily lives, right? So you have to be very clear and careful about that. And the picture down, it's a couple, it's a family from Bari. So they went on a vacation to Europe, and they took a picture, and they actually shared that information with their family group. So one of the family members who were a senior citizen, like 60, 70 years old, so they shared it to their group. So the data got leaked out of their network, so it went out. So they didn't even realize, and suddenly they see this advertisement in one of those European countries. It's getting posted as an advertisement, as a billboard advertisement. So you have to be very clear about how much compromise are you doing with your privacy when you're sharing information on social media platforms. The indicators of malware and hacking, it's a no-brainer, because US FBI has, currently, even though I'm a Canadian, I'm living in Denver, Colorado. So just 2 days back, FBI has released a note saying that US entire healthcare system is facing ransomware attacks. So what exactly is ransomware? I would mention that in one of those sections. But some of those indicators of malware and hacking, I keep getting this question quite often, is that how do I know that I'm getting hacked? Or how do I know that I got hacked? Or how do I know that my system, my phone has a malware in it? So if you see that some of the reasons or some of those indications of having a malware or botnet infection makes your computer processing or your phone processing pretty much slow, and it would delay the opening of applications. So if you have multiple applications open, it would definitely delay the processing of that, because the core of your system is not scaling enough to handle that kind of load. So these are some of those symptoms, like a new system which you got from the store, Best Buy or any of those places, like it's not performing in an optimum way. So it could be one of those reasons you are getting all those things. And the other thing to keep in mind is, if you are infected, like if you have a malware infection or if your system is infected with botnets, you would start seeing a normal pattern, like you would start getting a lot of junk emails, or what we call it as spam, on your email accounts, because your email account is compromised. One of those examples is like Praveen was sharing his browser when Ontario Heroes was a web page. He was taking us through that, right? So if you watched carefully, you could clearly see his Gmail was open in one of those tabs, and then his Facebook page was open on another tab. So if you are smart enough, you can clearly make out what are his email details and all those things. I can always say that it's publicly available information, but still, you have to. So imagine someone had access to Praveen's system. So his mailbox, like his inbox, was open, so they could see all those information. So his email ID is compromised, his contact list is compromised. So he would start getting a lot of emails, unsolicited emails, or spam or junk emails on his email address, right? So this is one of those examples. So you have to be very clear and careful, like what you do. Like you do transactions, banking transactions on one of those tabs, and imagine your Facebook account is open, logged in and open in the other tab. So what happens is that any website or any web page which has a Facebook icon, they would definitely share those information to Facebook and other social media platforms as well, if it is open, because it is in the same browser session, it will be able to do all those things. So you have to be careful with that as well. Cybercrime and mobile, we see that most of adults and kids, we keep playing a lot of mobile games in our mobile devices, be it a phone or a tablet and stuff like that. But you have to keep in mind, like, what happens behind the scenes when you're just playing an online game. So online game could be, we call it as MMOG, like massively multiplayer online games. So what that means is there are multiple people getting connected to the same game from different locations, different countries, different time zones, and all of them are trying to access. So you have to keep one thing in mind, is that the app or the game which you have downloaded and which you are using is sharing all those information behind the scenes. So what you see is the clean interface saying that, okay, you are playing game, you are having a good time, you are having a fun time. But what happens behind the scenes is like it starts sending information like your username, your email address, your high score, your location, time spent, your IP address, location, gender, age, Facebook friend list, and all those things. And the main objective with all these things is profiling the user. So what exactly is the user habit? So whether we can force that user to spend more dollars on purchases, like app purchases. Like if you're trying to play a game, like do you want to buy some points? Do you want to buy a specific gadget within that game so that you can proceed to the next level and stuff like that? So you have to keep all those things in mind. Now, all these things are leading to only one thing, is how much of permission you are giving for these mobile apps which you are getting downloaded. So some of the top 10 mobile tips are like, it's a no-brainer. You should have a password set on your phone and you should lock it when not in use. And don't keep the lockout time as 10 minutes, because 10 minutes, you just keep the mobile phone in your office space and you walk, have a coffee and come back. Within the 10 minutes, anyone could actually access your phone and can. It's a human mentality, because more than finding out what we have in our phone, we are more interested in finding out what is there in others' phone. So that's a human mentality as well. So it's always better to have it a proper password and lock it when not in use. Turn off geographic or turn off geolocation tagging, and you should always use a good inbuilt or a good security software on your mobile platforms as well. And last but not least, please remember that if a photo or a video leaves your phone, you don't control it. And now that leads us into another important thing, like the geotagging or location awareness. The picture on the right is a no-brainer. It's a landmark. All of us know that. If you don't know, before the winter, I would highly encourage you go out and take a look at what is that landmark. So if you post a picture of that landmark on the right side, which is CN Tower, and you don't mention anything about where this picture was taken, but most people could clearly find out using common sense. If you have seen that before, it can clearly find out where this picture was taken. But the picture on the left side, the tree and then moon and then all those things, doesn't give out the details where that picture was taken. But if you are smart, you can find out that there is a yellow Best Buy name board, which you can clearly notice in that picture. But behind the scenes, what happens is that the picture captures EXIF information, which is the location information onto those individual pictures. And when you post it, it actually goes with that. It's just like an envelope with a stamp, postage stamp stuck to it. So EXIF information goes together with the picture, it travels through the internet and all those things. So with the naked eye, you can't make out where this location is, but there are tools which can actually go through the picture information and find out on a Google map where exactly this picture was taken. Now imagine you take a picture, or kids taking a picture after school, like going to Tim Hortons or Starbucks and then taking a picture like this. With this location information, if that picture falls into a wrong hand, they can clearly walk up to the kid and then say that, hey, do you remember yesterday evening we met in that Tim Hortons when you were with your friends? The kids would believe that. So we have to keep all those things in mind when we are posting, or the kids are also posting. So now this is an interesting part, like the social networking dangers. So social networking has got into our daily lives. So some of us are taking breaks. If you have not watched Social Dilemma, I would highly recommend that you watch it on Netflix before they pull it out. So make sure that you watch it. It is really an eye-opener for people who want to know what happens in the social media platforms. So if you see that 4 out of 10 social media users have fallen victim to cyber crime on social networking platforms. So this would be like saying that you get a connection request, you get a friend request, you don't know who that person is, but you see a lot of common friends, and then you go by word of mouth kind of thing. Like you go by, oh, these friends are there, so let me check with them. But chances of those friends also not checked about the authenticity of that person would be on the higher side, because they would go by someone else has already done the checking, so let's not do that. So why do all those checking and stuff like that? So that is how they do all those things. So you have to be very clear about that, because if you see that 1 out of 6 social network users report that someone has hacked into their profile and pretended to be them, it's an impersonation which happens through their friend list and stuff like that. So it's actually impersonation. And there are social frenemies, like I mentioned, like less than 40% of people have accepted friend requests from people they don't even know, and they receive posts or messages in their inbox on social media platforms that they suspect are not actually from their friends. So you have to keep all those things in mind, because social media is good, but you have to really understand what is the chemistry behind the social media. So some of those settings are this privacy and security settings. You have to clearly do that. You have to make sure that login alerts and all those things are there. You have to use, if you are using your computer on a daily basis to access social media, you can use USB secure key as an added factor for logging into that. Now, this will also come up as one of those discussion topics with the new consumer scams which are happening. So you can all do the security settings. I've just used Facebook as an example. Facebook as one of those examples, like any posting which you are doing, it takes the previous post audience and then try to post it by default. So if you are not careful, then you shared something publicly, and then you, instead of sharing with your family group, the next post by default would go as public. So you have to keep that in mind. The thing is, you keeping in mind itself is not going to help. You have to educate others as well as what are the best things to be done. Now, some of the key tips of securing home networks is that you need to secure your wireless router at home, like change the default SSID or your wireless name. If Bell Rogers is giving you the equipment, no need to keep Bell 1462 as your SSID and stuff like that. And then I would highly recommend change the default passwords as well. So change the preset password of the router, review the security options, enable filtering based on the device IDs. Device IDs could be the MAC address based on that, and create a timed guest password. You don't give unlimited access to guests in the same network, because you don't know what's the kind of, if the guests are coming and they're trying to access something within your network and stuff like that. It's always better to have those basic hygienes in that, and use a firewall. It's a no-brainer for that. The other things, passwords and email security, when I do the security scanning of different kinds of network, could be government network, could be a private entity, could be a publicly listed entity, could be a school, could be a college or higher ed, any of those things. When I do the scan, I see that the scanning tool picks up like most of the commonly used passwords. There are a lot of permutation combinations for this. If you are not changing these passwords, it is a bigger problem because dictionary-based attacks are pretty much prominent in cracking the password. So this came up in one of those breaches with one of the telecom providers last weekend on Friday, Saturday. That is interesting because that is one of those mobile number porting scams which happened over last weekend. So that is another pattern. So you have to keep changing your passwords. So some of the password tips is think unique password for each of the accounts. Don't use same password on multiple accounts. No dictionary words. No using your standard passwords like password 123 or QWERTY, ABCDEF 12345 2468 and stuff like that. Don't use those kind of passwords. Always try to change it. And the best approach is item number 4, like create a passphrase and turn it into a password, because a passphrase is a sentence and you use those alphabets in those sentences in uppercase, lowercase and stuff like that. Use some special characters and create your own password. Now that is easier for you to remember, but tough for somebody else to crack. It would take time because password cracking is dependent on password complexity as well as the password length. Like 5-digit password, 6-digit password becomes easier to crack, whereas 10-digit, 15-digit passwords are pretty much tough to crack. With uppercase, lowercase, special characters, it's pretty much tough to crack. And always use a password manager and a security software, and never share or show passwords. And if you know that there is a data breach which has happened, it's always better to change your password immediately. Now let's see some of this ransomware. Like ransomware is any malware which has a component of extracting a ransom from the consumers is termed as ransomware. So if you see from 2012 onwards till 2020, that is when this ransomware has started its proliferation into that. So you see that there is an increase. Before that, it was misleading apps saying that, hey, I know that your system is running slow, so are you interested in getting a software for cleaning your registry and stuff like that? That was before 2010. Now, after 2010, it was like fake AV, like, hey, your system is infected. Download this antivirus software and then we will clean it and your system is ready. You download the software, but with that, it comes with some kind of infection. So these infections are like backdoor. Like imagine you have a front door and back door to your house and your back door is always open. So you will feel that your home is always secured by keeping the front door locked. But the robber or the thief can always come in and go out without you noticing through the back door. So that's the concept of backdoor. So this locker ransomware and crypto ransomware are actually going to come to your system and then infect your system and then ask you to pay some dollars or some bitcoins as a ransom for getting your files decrypted. So those are the crypto ransomware. So you have to be very careful with that. And phishing scams, it's a no-brainer. Like you might see the first one, you see that it's a Bank of Montreal email, but if you hover over the sender's email address, the real email address would be clearly displayed. So that's a phishing attempt. And the second one is not from Apple support. So if you go there, you can see that it's the URL points to a German-based URL. So it's not the right one. But if you try to download those kind of clicks, if you click on those suspicious emails and then you try to download those files, chances of that you might get infected. So you have to be very clear. And last but not least, this is something which all of us take pride in saying that, yes, I am so-and-so university alumni, and then put the sticker and all those things. So this is actually released by one of the police departments in US. So if you see this, your customized license plates will be easy for someone to recollect your details, even if you don't do anything. So it is easy for that. So some of the stickers like proud soccer mom. So that means that then the mother of the kids would be taking the kids for a soccer session. So there might not be anyone at home. So you are giving, so the stickers which we put on our car or is actually giving out more information than what we should be giving out. So you have to be very clear about what kind of information you are giving out. Like if you are into adventure sports like skiing or motocross and stuff like that. So, and if you try to put those information, so one of these examples are like the sticker for a dog named Max. So the dog would definitely go to that person if that person comes near the dog and calls by the name Max, because you are advertising saying that, hey, my dog is called as Max. So this is, so all this information we should practice. Now, cybersecurity is not restricted only with the cyberspace. In our day-to-day life also, we have to practice all those things. So these things definitely make sense. The other key thing is the mobile number port scam. So this scam happened last weekend with one of those service providers. I don't want to take a name, but you can guess it. We don't have many service providers in Ontario. So what happens is that the perpetrator or the hackers would get hold of your mobile number, your email address, and then what happens is that, because email address is in public domain, your mobile number is in public domain. When I say public domain, people can search and find out. You might have posted in some place, in some association, you would have given your details. So someone would have accidentally copied and pasted it on a Google Drive document. So these things get released like that. So what happens is that they would approach a service provider and say that I want to port my number to another service provider. So it could be either from Rogers to Bell or Bell to Telus and stuff like that. And what happens is that the moment they get this authorization with all this information, what happens is that the number gets ported. And the first thing what they do is they will try to reset password of your email, your PayPal, your Amazon, your Shoppers Drug Mart, your Canadian Tire, Walmart, any online account which has a similar password, which has the same username, which is your email address, and you get an alert or you get a six-digit passcode, one-time password on your mobile number. So this is how they will be able to reset it. So many people got affected because of this, what happened last weekend. If you are not, I would highly recommend you immediately change all your online passwords like PayPal, Amazon, all those online retailers. Please change your password ASAP. No need to wait saying that, hey, I am not affected, I don't want to go and change. Even if I am not affected and in that list, it's better to go and change it, because they won't disclose, but hear it from me, because there were many people who were impacted because of this, because other email accounts, other login accounts were also reset. Now let's quickly see what is cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is bullying using electronic communication. So it's not restricted only with kids, both with kids and adults as well. It can happen. It could be anonymous, it could be your friends, and the key thing to note is the effect does not stop after the harassment stops. So this could happen to anyone. Like I was cyberbullied. So I'm just because I work in cybersecurity, I'm not immune to that. But I know how to handle it. That's a different conversation to happen. But this could happen like either anonymously or could be your friends, could be using emails or texting or messaging or social media or blogging websites, could be any of these things. So what we can do is take responsibility so that we are not acting as a bully or we are not acting as a bystander. We are not at the receiving end. So talk to the parents, talk to law enforcement. Never respond to any of these cyberbullying attacks online. Keep a copy of everything, because when you are actually registering a complaint, it's always better to have those things as proof, and then report it to the website. So any fake profile, someone trying to launch an attack against your good online reputation, there are ways and means in which you can report that to that service provider, the social media platform itself. So now we have reached the interactive Q&A session. So now I will just take a stop or pause, and then let's see whether we have any questions to be answered. I know I was going in pretty fast because we didn't have much time. I was looking at the clock as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Sangam. Very, very informative session. And I would say that, we are very glad that we are very fortunate to have you here talking to us about this complex subject, and it guides us in every day, right? So the passwords, can we remember, can we leave a day without even typing one password? No. So it's a great information, great set of information. I think that, we all should be sharing this with our younger generations too. And Sangam does that as a community giving, that he is always available to talk to our student groups. So if you have young minds that you think that will be benefiting out of this sessions, please do connect with Sangam. So the session right now, we are opening our forum. So we will have a little bit time. So if you have any pressing questions, please do. You can write it down on the group chat. So we are monitoring that.
Yeah, and most of my sessions, it's a common pattern that my sessions, even though I schedule the session for 60 minutes, 60 minutes is not sufficient. And I see when I speak with younger minds, they have more questions than adults, because adults, we think that our learning is done. Like we have achieved salvation, because we think that there is nothing much for us to learn or not. Will they take it in, or will I be... will people think that if I ask this question, will they think this as a joke? Not like that. Like, feel free to ask like any kind of question related to cybersecurity. Please feel free to ask with me so that we can use the time for a good interaction.
Sangam, what are voice-based scams? So, we get these phone calls from Bangladesh, sometimes from Nigeria, most of the time from your land, like, from US. I get a lot of calls. This call is from Colorado or from Florida. What are the dangers of attending those calls, talking to those calls? Sometimes those calls just, it rings, you take it, there is no answer. What am I into?
Okay, yeah. So that's an interesting topic, because you can handle it in two different ways. One is, don't pick up calls from numbers which are unknown to you. So that is one way of responding to that. Now, if you do that, it's like either black or white. So there is nothing gray in between. Now, the problem is majority of the stuff are actually in gray, because maybe you might be getting an important call. If you don't pick that up, you never know, because we don't keep our address books with thousands of numbers updated, right? We never do that. If someone has that, there is a problem with that person. That's what I could say, that because you don't need to keep that many numbers in your address book. And there is a different risk. If you have more numbers in your address book, there is a different risk. I would mention about that. So voice-based scams. So the second way of responding that is, if you get a call, you don't say anything by opening your mouth. So try to give it in monosyllable. So there is a reason for that. Because this voice-based scams, what happens is that the voice samples are being captured if you are just responding to the call, saying that, hello, hello, hello. 3 calls, you get 3 different samples of the same audio. And in voice-based authentication, that's a big risk, because anywhere where your voice is being used as an authentication mechanism, it can be used against you. So you should definitely be careful by not giving out your voice samples like that. So the best thing is like, say, and chances like 99% of the time, the other side would hang it up or not. Don't even say hello, because any voice pattern which you could give by opening your mouth, don't do that, because the sound which comes out of the mouth when the lips are closed as well as when the lips are open are totally different. That's the basic physics principle of like when the voice gets from the mouth, it goes through the lips and then it gives much more clarity to that. So that's why you can hum a song, but it will not be the song, right? But for the real song, you have to open your mouth and sing the song. So this is a big threat. So you have to be very careful when you're getting these kind of calls from any location. So the other key, this voice scammers, the other thing what they do is like the first 6 digits would be exactly similar to your phone number when they make a call. So there are calling softwares wherein which you enter the details saying that 123456789 is the number. So what happens is that the calling software would actually enter the number to be calling, and then it would retain the first 6 digits, and then the last 4 digits would be random when the call will be made. So the caller ID would be having the second number. So when you get a call, you might think that, hey, this number is similar to my number. Is some of my friends trying to reach to me? And you pick the call and say hello. There will not be any response from the other side because they are just waiting for your voice. So even the CRA scam, which is happening, like CRA and IRS kind of scam, if you don't respond, the Chinese recorded voice message won't even start playing, saying that. So this is another interesting thing. Like you will get that call from one of the Ottawa numbers saying that CRA is calling you, and then we are sending federal agents to your house and all those things. So the other thing to keep in mind is that if you have an accountant who is filing taxes on your behalf, no need to advertise those details in any social media platform, because the information gets leaked in multiple different ways and means. So problem is that they would even say that. So far only some of the cases have been reported, but in some cases they would call and say that, hey, we know that this is the person who has actually filed your returns. So there is some problem. We are sending to their office and to your home. So people will be really scared, right? So you have to be, the basic thing is common sense, which is not so common. Learn how to use it. So once you use it, after reading all these things or listening to these things, if you're still falling victim to that, then the common sense is lacking. That is for sure.
And there is a question that, a couple of questions in the chat box, Sangam, that is there any way that we can prevent these calls?
Yeah, you can prevent the calls depending on your phone as well as the platform version which you are using. There are different apps. You can specify saying that these kind of calls I don't need to get. So what happens is that you need to have a service provider support also as well. Because in US, AT&T and Verizon, these are the two large voice and data service providers. So they have an application called Spam Protect. So these kind of spam calls and all those things will get blocked there itself, because when you are getting a call, the display would clearly mention that this is a spam risk call. Do you still want to pick it up? So either the service provider has to give, or third-party softwares has to be used, or third-party apps which is trusted. So don't download a tool which says it is free and there are people who have been using this. All those things are good. Keep one thing in mind, because it's the same Canadian way of saying that there are no free lunches, right? If there is anything which is free, just be careful, because nothing is free. So there is something behind the scenes. So be always careful with that. So you have to be very careful. So you can use those apps to filter it. But even if you are picking it up, you just say, don't say hello. Use some other way of saying that, yes, you are there. Then you will know whether the other person is doing it or not. Other person is starting to speak or not. These are some of the ways in which we can avoid these kind of voice-based scams and stuff like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sangam. And there is one more comment on the chat box. It's mostly about using password managers. So do you recommend using a password manager, or if so, can you suggest a couple of names? I know that it's a commercial advertisement issue, but then still, some hints around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So before telling the names, the best thing to keep in mind is look at the reputation of the password manager which you're looking at. If you're looking at X, Y, and Z, always go through the reviews. After you go through a couple of reviews, you will know whether these are real reviews or bogus reviews, because some of them are automated or bot-created reviews. So you can clearly find out whether it's the same person who is giving the same kind of reviews. Just to look at the reputation of the app for password manager. Look at those reviews, and then you decide which one to use. But the basic rules are same. Password managers which has information like which store the passwords in an encrypted database is always highly recommended. So you have to keep that in mind. The second thing is you should know whether it is going to allow you to access from multiple devices, or is this getting restricted with only one? And what is the reputation of that, and what is the any kind of data breach which that product has encountered, whether this suffered any kind of hacking attempt and stuff like that. So some of the things these are some of the basic things to keep in mind. So you could look at password safe if you are using a Windows-based system. Otherwise, online you can use Dashlane, you can use LastPass, you can use Norton Identity Safe. So these are some of those industry best password managers which you can use. You can also generate the passwords. So they give an option to generate the passwords. But keep in mind, you can use the generated passwords. I would highly recommend you get the generated password, copy it to a text, and then modify some of those, and then use that, and then delete it. Delete the text. So don't keep it as a text. Never use a text file in your system with the name passwords. That is an easy way of giving out, saying that this is a password file, and people can come and have access to that. So be careful with that.
Thank you. You know, that's a really, really good tip. There is one more question, and because of we are in a tight schedule, I'll be taking one more question. If anyone have a question, please do post it in our group chat. The question here in group chat is from Thomas Anthony. I work in child protection. All our calls are marked unknown. How do we expect others to pick up our calls? So that's a question. But then we do not want to pick up others' calls. How does it work?
Yeah, so when you are making calls, it is an unlisted number. So any unlisted number from which you are making a call, it would be displayed on the caller ID at the recipient. So there are two entities here, right? There is a sender and there is a recipient. So the sender's number is unlisted. That means when the caller gets it, there is no caller ID to be displayed. So it will be displayed as unknown. Now, in that case, it is up to the recipient to decide whether they would pick the call up or not. Now, if you are picking up the call, but the problem with that is, if you don't want to miss any calls at all, pick up the calls, but don't give out your voice samples. Use your judgment to say, okay, this might be something like this. Because all these callers are now getting into that behavioral mode of deciding things and predicting things. So we call it as user and entity behavior. So user and entity behavior is that, let's say I am in mountain time. So imagine I am a caller and I'm trying to make these calls to get some potential customers. And then my target is Ontario market. So I know that most of the offices' work would be over in a pre-COVID situation. Now, post-COVID situation, it is totally different. So pre-COVID, imagine people were going into offices and then working and commuting back, right? So I would make the calls during that commute hour. So they would be really busy in running towards catching a GO train or a TTC and stuff like that. So they would be really busy. So when they get a call, there is no time to think all these things, right? So we are preoccupied. So getting a hit rate is more for scammers at that time, at the peak time, so that your mind is occupied and you want to get out of all these things. So you would start answering these calls. So you have to be very careful when you are getting all these things, because scammers are becoming smart, softwares are becoming smart, to schedule it in such a way that you just enter what is the target market, Ontario. It would populate. I have seen some demos of some of the situations where it actually populates the information, and the prediction is pretty awesome. Like, it clearly says, okay, so this is the time, peak time traffic on Lakeshore East and Lakeshore West. Okay, this is how we should reach. These are the numbers. So most of this network would be really tight. So let's make a call. So surprising, right? So you have to be very careful and then do that. So when you are making a call which is unlisted, so it is up to the person who is at the receiving end whether to pick up the call or not. So you have to be. It works both ways, right? For the problem with that with scammers is that people start thinking even genuine calls to be scary. So they don't even answer calls. So they don't even do that. So not everybody will be able to message the person or text the person and then call, right? That is much more safer. So we have to be careful.
Thank you, Sangameswaran. and this is very interesting. And I don't know how many times that this is probably fourth time that I'm listening to Sangam, and every time I learn one thing or the other. So this is what community giving, and this is what selfless service. Very useful. Thank you very much. And we are at 8:50. Over to you, Kavita.
Thank you all.
Thank you. It was brilliant. Oh my God, I don't have words. I kind of feel like panicking because there are certain things that we think it's not that important, right? We try to think that, oh, it's not important to kind of like change the password. We are like very lazy at times, and this kind of presentations actually opens our eyes, and it's important to learn more and more. I'm pretty sure that Sangameswaran ji will certainly be able to answer more queries. Like if there is any more queries, you can certainly get in touch with us. He's also a volunteer with our Ontario Heroes, which makes it even easier to reach a cybersecurity specialist, who is like really world renowned. I would say he's like really popular in India, in US and Canada. I mean, he has connections all over the world. So he's a part of Ontario Heroes is such a huge thing for us, and we are really grateful for such a brilliant session, Sangameswaran ji. And one thing which I want to point out is, if anyone gets an invitation to Sangameswaran ji's house, we might not get unlimited Wi-Fi access, which is one thing which I noticed today.
First of all, I won't even invite. So the basic thing has to be there. Oh, I would like to mention one more thing. Now that you have mentioned, is that one is the basis of this, and the second thing is there is a lot of information available in public domain, in Wikipedia, and all those things about all these topics. But it's interesting that after some of my sessions like this, I keep getting some messages saying that we have a problem. What is happening? So then I ask, what is the problem? They say, my word is not opening. So it takes time to open. So these kind of things, please Google first or search first before getting in touch with me, because you have to do the basic triage, right? You don't get to go into a hospital and then see the specialist right away, right? So the nurse is going to do the triage. So do the triage yourself and then get in touch with me, because it becomes easier.
Yes. Okay. Point noted. Anything more? Please, let us know your feedback about our first presentation. We would really like to hear from you. And in the coming months, we will certainly be coming up with interesting topics. And anything more you want to share, Praveen ji? Mr. Praveen Murthy, would you like to say something?
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Sangameswaran and Kavita, our Ontario Heroes volunteer, and Prasad for moderating the session. And all the participants are volunteers, especially the members from Sierra Leone community. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, David. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thank you too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so
It
much
was
for-
really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prakash and Go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.